Good evening, Mr. Gazdick.
Well, hi there, Mr. Craig Graves. How are you today?
Man, I am fantastic. It is a great day to be alive
It really is.
in the United States of America.
It really is, man. Welcome to another edition of Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast. You are Craig Graves. I am Chris Gazdick. We invite you to see the world through the lens of a real mental health and substance abuse therapist. The goal is to create emotional growth through the medium of this podcast. Please be aware that this is not the delivery of therapy service in any way. Feedback and discussion not only welcomed but sought on the website throughatherapisteyes.com. Don't get confused. We got more buttons, but the podcast blog tab is where you find it, right?
That's right. We have made some website updates. I kind of wanted to make a few announcements before we got started, if it's all right with you.
But this is the human emotional experience. Let's figure it out together, huh?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Yeah, so I made some updates to the website. If you've ever been to our website, it looks a little bit differently now. I put some links to our most popular shows right on the front page there. So if you want to know which are the most popular, and then if you've missed any of them, they're easily accessible right there on the homepage. Also put a link to our sponsor, NetSmart, on there. And we got a donate button. I'm going to let Chris talk about that later. If you want to support the podcast, and you can do it right there on the website now. And I want to mention the email list too. Talked about that before. I'm going to be giving away a free resource to the subscribers of our email list, and anybody else who joins is also going to get this thing. And it's not really a therapy tool. It's more like a life coaching tool, but it's called the Life Balance Questionnaire.
It looked cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool tool. It's a pretty
out.
Cool thing, man. It asks a series of questions about where you are in certain areas of life, and then if you find or feel you're falling short, then you could set some goals in those areas or whatever. It's a pretty cool tool.
It'll definitely get you thinking for nothing else.
Definitely get you thinking for sure, for sure. So make sure you're signed up for our email list. And another thing we're going to do with the email list, if you caught the, I think it was 37 with Stephanie Fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephanie.
It's a must listen to.
Yeah, it is really a good show. She was gracious enough to sign some books for us and give them to us. So how many we have? 12.
10, I think, yeah.
10. So we have 10 books. We're going to give those away to listeners of our show. And we haven't worked out the details yet, but our email list is going to play a part in that. We may give out 5 to email subscribers and 5 to Facebook likes or something. So look for some videos and posts about the contest coming up. But the email list will definitely play a part in that. So make sure you're signed up for the email list if you aren't. And social media is great, but if you're not on there for a day or two, you can miss things. And Chris and I are working on some exciting stuff that we'd like to be able to drop an email right to you to tell you about. We may have some virtual events and some live events that we're trying to put together, and we have some exciting stuff coming up. And I just want to be able to reach out to you guys and let you know about it.
You're not going to sell them tires on that email list?
Not going to spam you.
Sure,
I promise I'm not going to spam. I get so many emails.
I know,
it's
right?
frustrating. So I am very aware of that.
That's terrible.
And I promise not to do that to you guys. So you can subscribe to the list without fear of me blasting your email inbox for sure.
So our sponsoring agency, Metrolina Psychotherapy Associates.
That's right.
Phone number, Craig?
Don't know it.
You're going to get it, man. You're going
to
get it, man.
I don't need to know it. I just plugged it in my phone, and there you go.
704-461. Actually, that's not right. Yeah, 461-8253. Man.
So you're giving me a hard time. You don't even know it.
What is up with that? Since 2010 in Belmont, North Carolina. More on NetSmart Technologies. Question, actually, we're plugging that interview in today on this episode, or when are we doing that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's today.
We'll be plugging that in. Okay, good. So, we ready to launch?
We are. Let's do it.
All right, let's
go, man.
Let's do that, man. Abandonment Insecurity Fear, how we attach and act with the world. Listen, I'm very excited about this episode. No, I'm not going to lie. In 2019, like we said, we're going to be able to jump into more detail on things, and this is a very important example of that, man, because this is a playoff on episode 11. And we talked about the foundation of marriage counseling on that episode. And this idea really kind of comes from that Gottman stuff that we've been talking about, Craig. And the thing is, you know, he talks about abandonment and engulfment as the two primary insecurities that people roll with. And I really want to expand. I'm really working on, like, I honestly, I don't know. I got so many ideas, like you said, so many fun things we're coming up with. I mean, I could see this as a whole book writing project, frankly. It's definitely needs to be a video seminar, at minimum an article that I write. I mean, it's really goes far beyond just a marriage. It's how we attach ourselves and act in the world. It's a big deal in patterns that we develop, foundational patterns, and people aren't aware of it. And it's really a simple way of looking at it. Do you operate from one side or the other tendencies? And you examine kind of how we go through that. And that's what we're going to do today. And this is we're recording 2 in 1 tonight. Be a little bit of a late night for us, right? You up for that, man?
Yeah,
you sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm the one that's tired today, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, in episode 11 was marriage.
Yep.
And we talked about engulfment and abandonment.
Right.
So these 2 shows coming up, this one and the next one, are on those 2 topics specifically.
Really expands on that one, and also Love and Logic, episode 15, and number 21, Friendship. But really, if you go down through our topics, it's this stuff, this show and the next show really apply themselves to any time you're interacting with people. It's any time you're interacting with another person, really. We just did conflict resolution recently ago. You know, we are going to have a show on screens and social media.
Yeah,
we've done some of those already. I mean, it just this is so cool of a set of 2 shows for me because it applies daily in so many mechanisms of relationships across the board, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it really does. And what I'm kind of seeing with our show too is our goal is to bring awareness to mental health issues, and we've kind of been scattered. I mean, we've talked about parenting, we've talked about friendships, we've talked about marriages, we've talked about substance abuse. So we've kind of been all over the place. Mindfulness. But in a lot of ways, man, these shows are starting to pull themselves into each other.
They really
because
are.
Conflict, I mean, like the last show, conflict resolution, you know, mindfulness helps you with that. Understanding engulfment and abandonment will help you with that. You know, if you're in a conflict with a person who is an engulfer or abandoner,
you got to understand that.
You got to understand that. So
it's very different.
Absolutely. So a lot of the things we're talking about on each individual show are starting to kind of fit together like a little puzzle, if you will.
It's absolutely
right.
The human mind, the human emotional experience, figuring it out. It's the puzzle pieces.
Absolutely.
You want my fun fact, man?
Yeah, let's have it.
You're looking at it.
Oh, I don't. What is it?
Look at my face.
Oh, your glasses? That's a fun fact? That's all you got, man?
You know, I was going to do a really cool one, and I'm going to reserve that one for when we get Gwen Wild on the show. Maybe I shouldn't have said her name, but she confirmed she was coming on, so people can Google that and get excited about it. But
who's that?
What, you want me to repeat it now?
Well, you've already said it. I can back it up.
Gwen Wild, she said she was coming on the show, and I'm very excited about that. She's a pretty pronounced guest that understands neurochemistry in a way that I was really impressed with, Craig.
Cool.
But no, it's a fun fact because, man, I've kind of taken the leap. I carry these things around with me now, man. People probably are laughing at me. My wife gives me no sympathy about this. She had eye problems all her life, and I've always, honestly, man, I have always all my life said, look, I don't want eye problems. I mean, mess with my arm, no big deal. You know, injuries, whatever. Blood, cholesterol. I mean, I work out. I do exercise. I'll try to figure it out and whatever. My ears, I have all kind of problem in my right ear. You know, I always walk with you on my left, right?
Yeah.
That's another fun fact. But, man, don't mess with my eyes.
Yeah, well, there's no shame in wearing readers, man. I mean,
I can't.
What are you, 45?
I'm 46, man. But it sucks. But yeah, I carry them around now.
Yeah.
I have taken the leap.
I need to carry mine around. I can't read menus in restaurants and stuff like that.
It's terrible,
yeah,
man.
It's pretty bad.
It's terrible. You know anything about attachment theory?
I do not.
Attachment theory. Well, this actually goes through. We got a couple of show note articles like I usually try to do so you can kind of, you know, ponder through and go deeper as you want to. And these are things that I looked at. It's just a cool little link that we have on the history of attachment theory, really, because abandonment and engulfment are things that Gottman kind of looked at and researched. And we use it in marriage counseling. But again, I want to extend that to a lot of different mechanisms in business and parenting and whatnot. So, but it really kind of has its solid base and foundation in attachment theory, and this goes back to the 1950s, man. It's Freud rolling and rocking and rolling with this stuff. Sigmund Freud. You ever hear of him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sigmund Freud. He kind of was really very thoughtful about all the things that go on into the deep psyche of people and stuff. And so that was followed up by, Erik Erikson. A lot of people in Psych 101 remember him on Stages of Human Development, and then this guy named John Bowlby. An English psychiatrist began research into the different ways children react to their caregivers and how their attachments to them define or determine how they saw the world as a whole. That's kind of directly off the site. And this Bowlby guy, I really, be honest with you, I didn't know his name. I've heard a lot of the other stuff usually, but I'm really not terribly familiar with him. We're going to go on in the part 2, four specific attachment styles. We'll kind of touch base on it, but the lady named Mary Ainsworth was doing some work on this, and it's just there's a lot of question about where these things come from. So we're going to talk specifically about abandonment today, but we can banter back and forth a little bit, Craig. The whole idea of attachments in life, reactive attachment disorder, for you therapists listen out there, you hear this stuff, and trauma is a big part of that. But the thing is, I'm really trying to lay out the point with the question, why do I operate from one side or the other? And when we talked about this before, I kind of maintain that you generally are on a side and you don't switch sides.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really the truth of the matter. You try to mitigate the harmful effects, because there are harmful effects of each of these two. The easy point is, hey, your parents screwed you up, and that's the origin of why you are the way you are. Now, I'm not denying, nurturing and the important nature of all of that. That's a big factor. That helps in how you learn to manage your emotions and self-soothing, and you kind of look at those relationships. We do that a lot in therapy to kind of understand the barriers and the way that you go at. I work a lot with those types of things. Primary relationships are huge in the way that you develop a view or a belief system, a value of the world around you. There is no denying that. But Craig, we're learning a lot more about the brain, and I don't think we can say our parents and our child rearing are the driving force of this stuff. It's too complicated. It's too dynamic. It's way more dynamic than that. That stuff was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, and you're still operating by that. And that's because of a whole series of life events that go on, and really a lot of biological factors, right? The tale of two tapes. You got the biology on one side, you got the social and emotional on the other. We've talked about that before. So I don't really get hung up on why we are the way we are. That's helpful to begin mitigating the harmful effects, which is what we do in a therapy office. We do that a lot. People ask me and we look at it, we talk about it. But it's really, where are we at now? Where do we want to be, and how do we get there? How do we want to act and behave and manage our emotions so that we can get through conflicts and develop friendships and have full relationships and go out there and interact with the world in healthy ways?
That's kind of an interesting thing, because it is a big question to me, is why we are the way we are. But I mean, like you said, what does it really matter at the end of the day?
Yeah. Where are we at and where are we going? Those are, to me, in my therapy office, I say it every time I meet with somebody the first time. Every time. I give them a little bit of a spiel.
Yeah.
Where you want to go, how do you want to get there is our goal. Yeah.
And I guess maybe the reality is we are the way we are. It'd be interesting to know why we are the way we are, but I think that's probably not where the focus should be put. Right?
There's some learning there, and I believe in an education style. By the way, for therapists listening, I feel like that's very important. People want to have information from us in our therapy office, and we have an obligation, I feel like, to offer that. So we are learning a lot about that. The limbic system, the amygdala, we talked about how the fight or flight system works. All of those very primal realities that are in our head, boom, trigger a fear response, either from engulfment perspective or abandonment, and off we go. Off we go into the behaviors and the patterns and the relationships and the frustration and the hurts. That's what drives our emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
Our brains get triggered on fear. And part of what we really want to look at is how can we mitigate that fear and manage those things so that we can really develop a different and more feasible view of the world. Because a lot of this stuff is just happening, Craig. We're not sitting here thinking about this stuff. It's just happening. And that's why people a lot of times don't know. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm on this side or that side. I kind of do this. I kind of do that. Sometimes I really struggle to put the pieces together to figure out what side you're on.
Yeah.
And I've gotten pretty good at kind of identifying it, really.
Yeah.
But people don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't even sometimes know what engulfment is.
No, I don't think. I mean, I didn't know what it was before we did the podcast on marriage, episode 11. I had no idea about these concepts before then.
But another point about this is, the idea that attachment theory is so simple, and you look at child rearing and nurturing. I mean, look, man, there's a lot of healthy people out there in the audience we're talking to, and they're just living life, going about their daily relationships and day-to-day activities. They're generally mentally healthy people. We're trying to get healthier always, but a concern that I have is if you kind of look at, hey, my parents screwed me up. By the way, I'm sure right now in real time I'm screwing my kids up.
Yeah.
You are too. I know you are.
Yeah. What? Is that a joke?
Yeah, it was a joke.
It was a jab.
It was a jab joke.
If you guys hear a scream and a pop and a scream, you know what it is.
Man. Scary, threatening violence.
Violence on the show.
Let's do it. We're all screwing our kids up. We all have good and bad that we do. Let's not kid ourselves. We are not perfect parents, and that's not the goal. Cut yourself some slack. Yes, we had parents and we had lots of issues, but we try to understand those a little bit. There is some absolute efficacy in that. But Craig, healthy people, very healthy, successful, functional folks have either engulfment fear or abandonment fear. And we want to figure out which one, how it operates, and mitigate it.
Yeah.
Sound interesting?
Yeah. I think finding out which one it is the easy part, right? I mean, but
sometimes not so.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, I guess we can dig into that, but I'm interested to hear how you mitigate it.
Right, yeah, we yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I put some stuff at the end. Probably should have put more meat on that, to be honest with you, but yeah, I
think mitigating it is where we should spend most of the time if we can tonight.
That's a good
because I mean it's to me it's easy to identify, and you said it wasn't, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm interested. You're the expert.
I think you'd be surprised, man.
You're the 20 plus years of clinical experience here.
Yeah, in my office day to day, man, I bring it up and we talk about it, and very often I get confused eyes about, well, I don't know, man. We do both. That's what I hear all the time. I do both.
Well, like but you said that.
Yeah,
you do both. But you're more prone to be one or the other.
Correct.
Yeah,
absolutely correct. All right, man, we're back. We paused. Let's be honest to the audience. Pause in editing is great.
Yeah, Chris lost his notes. He tried to blame me, but
I love editing, man. You're a great tech guy. Yeah, no, man. It's a handout that we said, and we'll read this on the second show. But these are statements that I read to people, Craig, and people are like, wow. I mean, it comes right off the page when you're in an argument and when you're in a fight and whatnot. Think of this in set 1 and set 2. These are statements from each of the two. Set 1, I can't count on you. You're not there for me. I feel all alone. I fear that you're going to leave me. Seems like what I want isn't important to you. Seems like what I need isn't important to you. Right? That's an orientation. Those are a set of statements that orient ourselves. Set 2, I fear that if you get too close, you're going to criticize me. Don't control me. Feel like I need my space. I want my space. Back off. Feel like I could lose myself in this relationship. Feels like you're far more in control of everything, man. Feels like you're trying to get more control of everything, you know? I feel overwhelmed by your needs. I feel overwhelmed by your reactivity and your emotions. Set 2. Right? You can hear set 1 and set 2. People will orient themselves to that. Any idea what set 1 is, Craig? Can't count on you. You're not there for me. I feel all alone. You're going to leave me. It seems like what I need isn't important. It seems like what I want isn't important to you. Is that abandonment or engulfment?
That's abandonment.
Yeah. Engulfment by the obvious deduction of abandonment, we go to engulfment.
Yeah, right. It is obvious.
Don't criticize me. You control me. Feel like I need my space. Back off. Feel like I could lose myself. I don't even know who I am. You're far more in control. You get more control of everything every day. Feel overwhelmed by your reactions. I feel overwhelmed by your emotions. It's engulfment. Those are primary statements, and I hear people actually say them in therapy sessions when I'm meeting with couples. So that's like an overview of where people are and how they operate. Let's get
so when they're actually saying the statements, man. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's obvious, right?
It is.
Yeah,
that's a dead tip off.
Yeah,
for sure.
It makes it easy for you, doesn't it?
It does. Somebody starts talking about control and don't do this and don't criticize me and all reactive. Now, no one likes to be criticized. No one likes to be controlled. But when people are freaking out about that kind of stuff and blowing up on it regularly, that does tip engulfment.
Yeah.
And then when somebody's all emotional all the time and they're, you're complaining you're not there for me, oh man, I'm trying to do everything all by myself. Well, those are tip-offs.
Yeah.
They're strong tip-offs for abandonment.
Yeah.
And that's a way to gain insight on what's going on, what side you're lying on. So let's jump to, here's what I want to do. There's two.
Before we jump, I want to ask a question real quick. So I think we've made this statement, but I want to be clear because we've talked about these two things in the context of a marital relationship for the most part. But this is anything, right? This is dating. This is children and parents, and that's friendships. This is everything, right?
Good pause because when you begin to learn your tendencies, and this is where I said I've got a lot of material probably to develop from this stuff because let's just say you're on an abandonment track. And you're in a business meeting, and you're sitting here thinking, man, I got all these ideas. No one's listening to me. I mean, man, I need to speak up, get my thing. Man, people are blowing me off. They don't care what I think. This is really pissing me off because, man, if people would listen to me, then, man, let me, and it's the outspoken person in the meeting. There's some behaviors that go along with that. People don't care about what I'm doing over here in my corner of the office.
Yeah.
Those are tip-offs in a business setting.
Yeah.
Those are tip-offs.
Of the abandonment person.
Yeah.
The abandonment person. Is that a personality?
I think these are a set of tendencies. You can call it from attachment style, attachment theory, an attachment style. But
yeah.
I think they're tendencies. I feel like think about it, right? I'm glad this point came back up because I didn't have it in my notes to do. When you have a fear triggered, your amygdala's popping, cortisone's shooting, adrenaline's running, your limbic system's freaking out. I mean, you're fearful. You're ready to kill something or run from something and go at it. Your body's on fire, heart rate going up, blood pressure. It's like, that zing you get, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes mild, but sometimes really, really strong. Well, you don't want that. And through your life, you start looking at, like, these are the types of things that bend me over. These are the types of things that trip me up. These are the types of things that really get my heart running, and I don't want that. So you'll start running from that. If you get abandonment, well, you start developing whole sets of lifestyle behavior patterns because you don't want to feel that way, and you get that way. That has nothing to do with your parents, by the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a powerful reality if you think about it.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing too is that it's good to know how the other person operates.
Yeah.
But it's also good to be aware of your own self.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. And a little bit of that diatribe there was just about diatribe, cool word, right?
I'm about to get my dictionary out.
Did I even use the word right, I wonder?
I don't know.
Sometimes I wonder.
I'm going to pause the show and go to dictionary.com and
there you go.
Figure out what that means.
No, it's that's now I lost my thought. That's what creates these patterns and
we were talking about it's cool to know how the other person operates.
That little diatribe is about understanding that where it comes from and the childhood isn't the point. And honestly, when we're working in a therapy environment, if we understand that little piece, and I think I'm on it, that's original thought on mine at this point, mm-hmm. that takes away the inner child work kind of thing, which has its value, don't get me wrong. But understanding that reality kind of goes to the why is this so pronounced. you're trying to avoid what freaks you the heck out, and you develop all kind of behavior from it. So that's a very different take, I think, from things that I hear about in emotion focused therapy and attachment theory and different theories that we have, in the therapy world. So nice little piece. But does that answer your question? Does that go at it?
Yeah, it's good.
Get that article out. And what we want to do is, I developed one. I should say I'm in development of one. I got a whole list of things. And what we want to do with this is we want to go back and forth. And you're going to ask me, and in the next show, I'm going to ask you the ones that I developed. What this is number one is one type of behavior. Don't say if it's abandonment engulfment. Let people kind of just listen. But as you go through the first one and the second one, I'm going to say the first one or the second one or repeat what you said and call myself out.
Okay.
These are the tendencies that I have. Now, there's one set from one insecurity fear, and the second set is the other insecurity fear. And I just want to go through this and let the listener be thinking about how would they answer these? Which one are your tendencies? Understand, you're going to have some in both. They aren't always perfectly clear, but this kind of thing gives you a dichotomy, a back and forth on the opposites in the way people operate, and begins to set up your understanding of yourself and then you go into managing your emotions so you can mitigate the harmful effects of some of these. But some of them are good. Does that make sense?
I think so. So you want me to read this side?
And then the other side.
Yeah, you guys can't see the paper I got, but okay. You want me to read both?
Yeah, read one on the left side and one on the right side, and then I'll tell you which one applies to me and go to the next one. And again, the listening audience, I want you to just listen to the different behaviors that are there, because this is an article that I found online. We'll have it on the show notes. It's a fantastic article, and I'm developing my own list and want to apply it in different ways.
How far are we going to
go? Shoot through them quickly, but all of them.
Okay, that's right? There's quite a few on here, folks.
Right.
So,
so the first one:
cannot easily pull back when a partner needs space. Cannot easily make a commitment.
Easily the first one. Hard to pull back.
Clings or cannot seem to get enough contact. Distances or cannot seem to get enough space.
People have called me clingy.
Really? Is overly attentive, overly accepting, overly allowing. Takes a partner's attentions for granted or feels smothered by them.
See, that's a tough one. It's close for me. I have a little bit of both. Probably the first one, but I definitely take people for granted.
Willingly shares about oneself. Maintains secrets or a secret life and may become angry at being asked questions.
Pretty willing to share.
Takes more care of a partner than oneself. Feels entitled to be taken care of without reciprocation.
I do a pretty good job at taking care of myself, but I would, pretty lean. I'm great with reciprocation.
Feels one can never give enough. Construes giving as and receiving as smothering or obligating.
Got to try to give.
Goes along with a partner's agenda or timing. Insists on being in control and on making the decisions.
Unfortunately, I do like control. But what was the first one?
Goes along with a partner's agenda or timing.
Yeah, I'm gonna. If somebody puts an agenda out there, I'll definitely at least consider it.
Has poor boundaries and tolerates abuse or unhappiness or infidelity. Maintains rigid boundaries and has no tolerance for abuse, disloyalty, or deficiency.
Definitely tolerate, but I do a pretty good job with boundaries.
Yeah. Is addicted to the partner and keeps giving more. Seduces the other and then withholds.
I'm a giver.
Yearns for continual affection and assurance. Is embarrassed or angered by such displays.
See, this is I'm definitely not embarrassed. I yearn for that. That's a strong one.
Okay.
And while we're going through this, you'll think some of these are very weak and they don't really apply. It's tough to answer them, but you'll see ones that pop. That one pops for me.
Is encouraged by exuberance. Is threatened or annoyed by exuberance.
Very similar to the one before. I love exuberance.
May settle for sex as proof of love or use it to purchase feelings of security.
I've changed that one for sure because I've worked on that one, but the first one's more applicable.
May use frequent sex as a substitute for closeness or may withhold sex to manipulate.
I don't withhold.
Yeah. Is that a male and female question there?
Nah, it's not. You'd be surprised. And a lot of people would say that. I do not, by the way, see a lot of gender tendencies with this. And that's a big point. I'm glad it came up. you would think men go have their men cave. Do you know how many women want to have their she shed?
Yeah, I think you said it on a
You
previous
know?
show.
Yeah.
I just don't. I guess it's hard to fathom a man holding sex back for manipulative purposes.
It definitely happens. Dudes will tell me that they don't care. They're not. It's not. Yeah.
Wow.
No. You'd be
Very
you'd
interesting.
Be surprised, man.
Very interesting. May give up appropriate sexual boundaries to please the other and be defenseless against predation.
Predators kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't know where that doesn't really.
May use, well, I haven't read the other one yet, but may use sexual distance or lack of interest as a way of manipulating independence and defense against a vulnerability.
They definitely don't want distance,
Needs a partner to be a constant companion. Go, stay with me. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, is this part of the same
Yeah, it's
thing?
a weird one.
Yeah, okay. That is a weird one. Needs a partner to be a constant companion. Go, stay with me. Needs a partner to stay put while I come and let me be.
Yeah, the one is, hey, let me come and go. You stay there. The other one is, hey, I want to be together all the time. I probably want togetherness.
Seeks connection and closeness. Seeks connection, not closeness.
I definitely want connection and closeness.
And closeness. Okay. Feels at a loss without the presence of the
other.
Well, that fell off here.
Is it the next page?
Oh, no, there it is. I'm sorry. Feels at a loss without the presence of the partner, becomes anxious with extended togetherness.
Yeah, extended togetherness does not bother me. I definitely am prone to loneliness when people are gone.
Rationalizes, i.e. makes excuses that enable coping. Intellectualizes, i.e. substitute feelings with logic.
Say again?
Rationalizes, i.e. makes excuses that enable coping, or intellectualizes, i.e. substitutes feelings with logic.
I use cool words sometimes, but I don't really like to intellectualize. I really, I'm all emotion.
Shows fear, hides anger. Shows anger, hides fear.
Definitely show fear.
Walks on eggshells, always compromising. Acts hostilely, creates uproar, or picks fights to establish distance.
I'm scared of fighting.
Has distress in coming/goings. Has distress in giving/receiving.
Yeah, I don't like, going things and people going away.
Lets needs become neediness. Makes needs into expectations.
Right. Neediness and whatnot.
Looks like the one reaching out, and that looks like love, but may really be fear.
Right.
Looks like the cold one, and that seems unloving, but may really be fear.
Right. And I'm reaching out.
Maybe.
So it's the thing is as you think through these, and it's on the show notes, it's cool to check out and kind of try to see which one you go on each side. Which one did you see a lot more of on me? The first one or the second one?
Yeah, probably the first one.
Right.
I think.
Those are strong tendencies for me. And if you're willing, Craig, the next show got one that I created. We'll do the same thing for you. These are
the same questions.
No, different questions that I've done. That's an article, and I'm kind of making. I've been working on making my own list.
Yeah, not sure I want to do that, but that sounds interesting.
You don't need to if you don't want to. I will not hold you to it. But the thing is, as you go down and look at these, there's some of them, and I haven't looked at that for myself in a while. I have before. And the thing is. When ones I think when we were going down through one of them, I said really pops for me. There's some of them it's like, that doesn't really impact me a lot, particularly anymore. Some of them when I was a younger dude, I'm sure if I would have paid attention to this when I was 25, I'd have been freaking out. But you do learn how to manage your emotion. You get more secure, but some people. They could be 70 years old and they are still tripping out. Several of these pop. And when one really is loud or feels strong, that just gives you an idea of something that you can really work on because these are your tendencies. And I know listening to that might be difficult because we're moving fast, but it's something to really look at. And honestly, when I first came across this several years ago now, it's kind of like, from time to time I'd be thinking about something, a moment backyard by the pond or thinking, hanging out, just meditating or looking at some birds, one will pop at me. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? That does apply to me. I see how that operates. All these things are operational. These are all kind of management realities and things that are just, kind of running along. and we want to begin to kind of understand the day-to-day function of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
As you went down through them, I guess we did go through them pretty quick. Scan that and see. I mean, are there any ones that sort of, you know, that we want to banter a little bit about, like how do they work? Let's maybe pick a few and kind of touch base with how they might impact the world. So let's do that. The way you act with the world. Pick a few and let's see, how does that really look?
How it impacts with the world?
How your tendencies impact with the way that you operate. Yeah.
So you want me to do that?
Yeah, not for yourself, but just like, wow, that doesn't make sense. What does that really look like in real life? You can probably even pick some random ones.
I don't know, man. Well, I don't. You kind of put me on the spot there.
Yeah,
I don't
pick one.
Yeah, you pick one. Yeah.
Clings or cannot seem to get enough contact versus distances or cannot seem to get enough space. This contact versus space thing, how can that really apply in a friendship or a business partner? Marriages, these are easier to see. But they
yeah, okay, so I see where you're going.
Right.
Yeah, it is probably easier to see in a marriage. And,
Because
maybe
at that point, the closer the relationship to you, the louder these things will be. Right? So that's why in the workplace,
exactly.
we're being
That's
professional.
That's exactly what I was sitting here
Good.
thinking, right? Because, I'm probably more on the abandonment side myself, and I like to be close, and if I'm in a relationship or with a girl, I like to be with her,
Yeah.
And but me and you can be pals, and we can go drive the Jeep with the top down and watch UFC fight. But when it's time to go home, hey man, I'll see you later, bud.
We're due this weekend.
But like with
In fact, that was going to be my fun fact.
But if I have a lady in my life,
I'm going to cook for you this weekend, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe I want to, maybe I want to cook for her. I don't know,
Yeah.
But it's just not as strong as a feeling that
Exactly.
There's different intensity levels in different kinds of relationships.
Your amygdala is interpreting intensity when you got serious skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can even see that with my kids, So like,
yeah, they're close.
Like relationships, intimate relationships are, like on one level. I want to be with that person. I want to be with my kid. Hey, let's watch a movie. Nah, and I'm starting to see these traits in my own children and pick them out.
Right? Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. And so there's more intense there. Hey, let's watch a movie.
Let's get back to
hey,
what you're
Viv,
saying.
let's watch a movie, honey. No, I'm going to go upstairs, Daddy. Come on, babe. Let's watch a movie.
How are you
I'm
starting
going
to see
upstairs.
them in your kids? I want to hear that.
Well, like my daughter's 11, and and maybe I'm off base here. Maybe I'm just her dad, and she's an 11-year-old girl, But like the example I'm giving, the other day I'm trying to get her to watch a movie with me, and she's not interested at all. She's going upstairs, and like if she's sitting on the couch and I sit beside her and put my arm around her, get away from me, Dad.
Right.
Get away from me, Dad.
She's a budding teenager, though.
Yeah, I mean that's true too. So I'm not sure how much that plays in, but as I watch her, I get the feeling that she may be more of an engulfment person than an abandonment. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but just based on some of the things that we talk about, I might be seeing some of those traits.
When you begin to be aware of them. And seriously, I made the joke as you were talking. You don't want to psychoanalyze your family and friends and sit with your kids and do all this. You just want to live. You just relax, everybody. But being aware can really be helpful.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm not psychoanalyzing anybody, but I think it, like you said, being aware how that person operates is beneficial. I think I'm all about awareness on these shows. I think awareness is the first thing we need to have in order to be healthy in our minds. And I think being aware of where a person is helps you relate to that. Helps you relate to them.
Exactly. Here's another one. I think I was looking for the one that popped for me. This does pop. Is encouraged by exuberance. Is threatened or annoyed by exuberance. What is exuberance?
I was going to ask you that earlier.
Really?
But I don't want to sound stupid on the podcast. I don't know what it is.
Somebody in Norway is listening. Like, what the heck does that mean? Exuberance. Yeah, the way I interpret this, you'll see people that are over an abundance of, oh, you're the best thing that ever happened to me, and I love you, and da da da, and they just, the exuberant, big, elaborate gifts that you'll get, and fawning over somebody and kind of going over, maybe you'll even see this in brown nosing the teacher, exuberance, when you're exuberantly expressive of affection and emotion and that type of thing. That's encouraging for some. Because this is one that'll pop for me. I think it's, who's the romantic out there? Those people that are just, all bought up into the Hallmark stuff, and, and just the exuberance of all that feels nice, or is annoyed by that or threatened by that. It's like women are supposed to be all romantic, right, society says. Well, an engulfment woman just, no.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that at all. It's annoying.
Yeah.
So that's we could use that as an example. I mean, for somebody who's coming from an abandonment perspective, man, that is amazing. That's awesome. That's so comforting. That's encouraging. But for somebody who's from engulfment, it's kind of like, oh, that's embarrassing. I don't want that. That's actually uncomfortable. That's too much. Back off. That's where I get triggered and I need space. Let's calm it down. Let me pick one other one. Let me see. Well, let me do seeks connection and closeness versus seeks connection, not closeness. Right? So a business partner, let's take it from a business perspective. Think about that. Seeks connection and closeness from your business partner. The way you do business is we need to talk about everything. We need to be close and tight in a tight-knit group. We need to process out all these decisions. Whereas another business partner might be like, nah, we need to be connected. Let's be coordinated, sure. But we don't need to be all tight and close with all that. I mean, you make some decisions, go do them.
Yeah.
I don't need to check with you when I do everything. That'll create business fights.
Yeah.
And you'll disagree vehemently.
Yeah.
With the directions that you need to take.
Yeah, well, I've heard the worst thing you can do is go into partnership with somebody. I mean, seriously, because it never ends well.
That's a marriage in business, really. They say.
Yeah, yeah, really. I can see how these would be issues in a business for sure.
You'll see this stuff there for sure.
Hey, our sales are down. Let's figure out what's wrong. Nah, it'll work itself out. Let it go. Yeah. What do you mean, let it go?
No, we got to take action.
Yeah, and the next thing you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the ones that I wrote down. That's impressive, Craig. Let it be, or let's work it out.
Yeah.
Things work themselves out. No, we fix things. Right?
Yeah, interesting. In a business relationship, how that would work, because for me, like I said, I'm more probably on the abandonment side myself, but I think in a business, you have to talk about issues and you have to talk about how the business is running. And if you're losing money or something's not working, you got to hash that out and you got to find a solution.
Yeah, but it's equally to say, take a long-term perspective, relax. I mean, don't get so worked up. It's not perfect. We don't need to work everything out right now. I mean, just calm down. Let's get going on this. Let's just take the next step.
Yeah.
Those are reasons, good business people. I mean, they'll take a hit. But they'll bounce back. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just
thoughts. Yeah.
It's a different orientation.
Right.
On a deep level.
Yeah.
And this is NetSmart Technology, still the sponsor of our show. We actually have Dr. Denny Morrison, Chief Clinical Advisor. Thank you for joining us, sir. You are with NetSmart Technologies, right?
I am.
Cool.
I am a private consultant, and NetSmart is one of my consulting clients. But I used to be their Chief Clinical Officer for about 6 years.
All right. Well, we've enjoyed promoting NetSmart Technologies. I have been a Therapist Helper fan for probably well over a decade, believe it or not. I don't know who likes them more, you or me. Who do you think? Why did you join NetSmart Technologies? What led you to them?
Well, my background, like you, I was a clinician for a long time. I moved into management, ran a mental health center for 13 years, and then a research institute. And throughout my whole career, I've always believed that what got us into this business, I think, is that you want to help people, and that for me, moving into senior management positions and then to work as Chief Clinical Officer for NetSmart was a way to have a bigger impact. So I figured if I did my job right, more people would have better care as a result of this. And NetSmart came along at the right time, and it was. I've always had a real strong interest in technology, and so I knew those guys for a long time. And so when we started talking, at first I thought it was. They said you ought to come to work for us. I thought that was a compliment, not a job offer, but they were serious.
Nice.
So that's why I joined them, because I was wanted to have a bigger impact.
So are you the genesis of all these things that NetSpark Technologies and Therapist Helper is able to do? I mean, they do our electronic billing, they do our electronic remittance advice. You guys are so awesome in customer service and answering questions and problems people have. Are you the genesis of all that?
I'd like to say yes, but the answer is no.
All right. Maybe a distributor, huh?
If you have a technical problem, I'm the last person you want to call. NetSpark's got a lot of people that can help you with that. No,
Gotcha.
my role really is to advise people like Chris Newman, who's the general manager for the Helper product, on kind of clinical aspects of it and ways in which clinical issues could be maybe looked at a little bit differently, as well as the other applications that NetSmart has. Helper is just one of their several EHRs. And so my job really is to just advise about things that are going on. And I do come in with some suggestions every once in a while, but really it's about kind of giving them advice about things that at the clinical level, but more specifically at the interface of clinical and technology.
Cool. So they can be found at therapisthelper.com, right?
That's right.
And what would you sum us up on as the coolest piece of the Helper program that you're the most excited about, I guess would say?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One, e-prescribing. If you are a physician who needs to prescribe, it's integrated. You need to do billing, that's integrated. So I think there's a lot of things that this does. And I've always been a real fan of this kind of product, because there's a whole lot of providers out there, private practice providers and solo and small practices, that really need an affordable solution to help them get their documentation done. But more importantly, if they aren't able to communicate electronically in the future, they're going to be isolated, because that's where it's all going. The idea of using faxes and phone calls for referrals is going to go away. So that's one of the things I like about this product, is it starts moving the private practice market into the world that everybody else has moved into.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you guys at helper.com and NetSmart Technologies. Take
Great.
care.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me here.
So let's move towards some of what you wanted to focus on. How do you mitigate this stuff? So some coping techniques, and some of these are particularly for abandonment. I kind of did 6. The second show, you're going to notice something. The first 3 are the same for both. So really, some coping techniques. What you want to do when you're dealing with these insecurities is let the other person know you're worked up, triggered. Let the other person know. I mean, take responsibility for it. You'd be amazed when you let the other person know, hey, I just got sideways. I'm tripping out right now. Just putting that out there out loud immediately tends to de-escalate stuff. I mean, that sounds simple. You might not think that people would do it. Or you might think that people would do that, but we will conceal, hide, minimize. Who wants to be weak? Don't let them see you sweat, right?
Yeah.
Never appear rattled in a meeting, right?
Yeah.
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 Let the other person just know. I just got tripped out, man. I'm sorry. I'm freaking out now. So that's a coping skill. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. So let's take a step back from that. So I think it's great to let somebody know, but what if the person has no idea what these things are?
Doesn't matter.
What if I'm in a business relationship, or I meet a new lady and I say, hey, I'm just having these I have abandonment tendencies, and I'm going through some stuff right now, and they're gonna look at you like you're an idiot.
Right?
You got what?
Yeah. No. Good point, Craig. No. Listen, I've been in mid-conversation with my kids in a parenting relationship, and I've told them, like, listen, I am not in a good space right now to deal with this. I'm not going to talk real well about this now. I need to chill. This is not a good time right now. Right?
Yeah.
I'm letting the other person know.
Okay. I get that. and I've been in those situations myself where I'm like, look, it just isn't a real good time to talk about this thing.
We better stop.
But if you're the guy that needs to talk or the girl
Right.
that needs to have a conversation,
We're
and
mitigating
you say, look,
that.
look, sweetheart, I need to talk to you about this,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on the engulfment side, they're going to say, well, no, you don't. I don't want to talk about it,
Right.
So how do you resolve that? I mean, you're back in the old cycle.
This is so cyclical, goes on over and over and over again. And honestly, when one person in a relationship gets triggered, the other person generally follows suit. And it doesn't matter who starts first. But this is why people will have the same arguments over 30, 40 years. Same stuff goes on.
Yeah, so I think there's got to be a level of education between the two people.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to
begin to understand
whoever
yourself.
needs to listen to our podcast so they know what these things are,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to improve their relationship.
Absolutely. That is awesomely, potentially possible, and awesome to think that people will do that from this sort of thing. And that can happen. It really can. That's why I get excited about this. Second thing is breath. Take a moment. Decrease your heart rate first. You got to understand when you get triggered, your body's going to be coursing full of adrenaline and cortisol and all kinds of hormones and chemicals just start exploding and popping into you, and you're not going to do very well. Take a breath, literally. You might be in a business meeting and you just need to, you ever been in a business meeting and the room actually starts just like thumping and spinning? You get so like worked up.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
You're in here's a good one. You're in a performance review and your supervisor's looking at you and you just start to feel that,
Yeah.
You might just, cock your body in a way, sort of do a stretch. Take a breath. Breath, is pretty valuable, right?
Right. Yeah.
That is soothing.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you have to take the heart rate on. Matter of fact, I was listening to the Gottmans in trainings and stuff recently. They will put a monitor on your finger and check your heart rate. You're having a conversation, you're kind of going at it, and they see that heart rate goes over 100 or whatever the number is, and they're like, nope, we're stopping. Let's deal with that. We're not going any further. Conversation needs to not happen if you're not in a physical place to do it.
Who does this?
The Gottman, what's his first name? John and Julie Gottman.
Yeah, we talked about them before on the show.
Yeah, they're the originators of a lot of this from EFT perspective.
So how do they have the heart rate monitor hooked up?
Yeah, they actually have you hooked up
when they're talking to each other. Or?
No. Well, they probably could do that at home. Maybe they do. They're probably weird enough like that. It's a joke. It's a joke.
So we're gonna have people walking around with heart monitors on.
Right.
Hey, babe, your heart's up.
Hey, look at that number.
And we'll talk later.
Yeah, right. But when you notice that, and honestly, that's a good therapy technique, though, because a lot of times you're really not aware that that's going on.
Dude, that is a $1 billion business idea right there.
Man.
We could develop a cool little heart monitor thingy.
All right.
And sell it to married couples.
Talk to me, yeah.
Sell it to married couples.
Okay.
And if it turns red or whatever, then the conversation's over until it goes back down.
Boom.
There you go.
Give us a couple of years, man. We're on this stuff. 3, acknowledge to the other the clumsiness of your current emotion is just something that came up when I was brainstorming this. When you've got a really heavy conversation, maybe you're going to your cousin and you're talking about some family reunion and it's kind of like, oh man, I hadn't talked to them in a long time. I got a tough conversation to have. I need to have it. You build yourself up. Sit down with your cousin and say, hey, listen, man, I'm pretty clumsy with this right now. I'm a little jacked up and I want to talk to you, but just so you know, I'm really trying. I know we haven't talked in 7 years, but here we go. And off you go with the conversation. Just acknowledge that stuff.
Yeah,
takes the power out of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide it.
Yeah.
It's fine. And you feel much better about it, and then you'll be more confident and roll with it.
Yeah.
Funny. You're on a first date. Hey, man, I've been wanting to talk to you for like 7 years now. This is really kind of cool. I get to sit down with you. I'm a little bit tripped out, to be honest with you.
Might be your last date.
Yeah, right?
First and last. But
all right, here's challenges. Number 4, 5, and 6, specifically for the abandonment person.
So if we back up real quick,
Gotcha.
You said the first 3 were pretty much the same in both situations.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's go to 4.
So challenge yourself to ask questions rather than make statements. That's a hard one, right? But It's just an idea of something to do to try to manage things. When you're coming at it from an abandonment perspective, you're ready to share everything. You're ready to talk. Let's get all emotional. Let's get it all on the table. I don't want to hold this. And you kind of start jumping at this topic and that topic and this topic and that topic. And you start jumping around. And you'll start making all kinds of statements and stuff. And so, we want to ask questions, but focus on backing off and ask questions and whatnot. So next 5, look, let me just hit these 2 out, and then you can see, Craig, what you think of 4, 5, and 6. Learn to limit talking and feel comfortable with silence. That's hard. I'm going to be honest with you. Therapy, it's well known that at times, situations, particularly maybe with teens, early in my career, when I got the quiet person that was really not very talkative, and there was these big gaps, Craig, it would drive me crazy. I'm not going to lie.
The silence.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are uncomfortable with silence.
Right. Some are pretty tolerant of it.
Yeah. Others are not.
Right. And that's a bit of an abandonment engulfment thing, I believe I see. So I really had to kind of build up some tolerance for that. I mean, I could sit with you now and really, I mean, it might be 45 seconds. That's a long time of silence. 3, 4.
Let's don't do it here 5. On the show.
That was 5 seconds.
Our listeners are going to turn us off.
Can you imagine doing that for 40?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I can. I'm not probably as comfortable as you, but I'm comfortable.
It was weird.
Yeah. It is uncomfortable sometimes.
So tolerate silence and limit talking.
Yeah.
1 sentence is good. I string 5 together before I even know I said them. That's hard. So challenge yourself. Learn how to kind of set those limits with yourself. Last one that occurred to me is, wait longer to engage an issue. You got something on your mind. Think about it. Put it down. Sleep on it. A few nights. Be a week. Come back to it next month.
A week? A month? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I got to talk now.
Right? You feel that way when something's on you. It's hard. So these last 3 are pretty at times, particularly in marriage, particularly when you got a lot of skin in the game. I really got to talk to my son now. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. Oh, my God, I got to teach him. He's going to fall out. No, man, just chill. That's hard for abandonment side sometimes.
Definitely is.
What do you hear in those last 3 challenges?
So let's jump into these questions, these last couple bullet points for a minute. So what kind of questions would you ask? And I guess it's kind of hard to ask that question without having a particular scenario. But you're saying
what kind of questions?
Well, you're saying challenge yourself to ask questions rather than to make statements.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what kind of questions would you make with that one? I mean,
and so
about the topic
itself. So whatever that thing might be. I
right.
mean, that way, it's hard to come up with a scenario. But
trying to teach your kid how to drive a car and he's getting frustrated. Well, you might jump in and say, well, you just need to kind of take the wheel this way and turn that way. And if you take your foot off the gas and just coast a little bit, you don't have to slam the brake. Just, you want to start making statements and making strong suggestions and whatnot. Instead, wait a minute, buddy, what are you upset about right now? Have you thought about, just pulling your, might it be helpful to just pull your foot off the gas? Are you feeling like you have to stop immediately really fast? That's different than, pull your foot off the gas, coast, and just and tap the brake before you slam the brake and you begin to slow down. You see how the difference is between statements?
Yeah.
And like work with the issue and ask questions.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I got you there. So, how is it that one becomes more comfortable with the silence?
Yeah. That's
I mean, because that's only going to come
practicing.
Well, I know practice, but but is there a way to become comfortable with that through practice without there being something going on?
I reference 1, 2, and 3. I mean, when you're really having a hard time, that's when you're trying to breathe. That's when you're kind of saying, all right, you know what? I see that you want to really think about this and be quiet. I just want you to know, that I'm kind of feeling more edgy. You practice it. You manage it. That's where the internal self-soothing goes. Some people are really pretty decent at that. Other people really suck at that.
Yeah.
You know?
Got it. Okay. So, and then the waiting longer. I mean, if you're going to wait several days or a week or longer, what are some things you can do to make the waiting not as urgent or...
Awesome question. You remember episode 1 in the history of Through a Therapist's Eye?
Episode 1 was the introduction. You're talking about the next one.
No, we talked about self-care in episode 1, cornerstone of mental health. You're tripping out on a topic. You feel like you got to jump in there and deal with it. You're purposely trying to challenge yourself from an abandonment perspective, and you want to pull back and wait. Hey, go play StarCraft 2.
Okay.
Go watch a football game.
So basically occupy yourself with something else.
Chill out, pull back. Get yourself cooled down. Cope with it. That's hard.
Got it. Yeah. It is hard. It's hard to do.
Mindfulness
on your mind.
applies.
Yeah, mindfulness. I was going to say that myself, but
yeah, these are things that you really work through. You got a business partner, you got a big jumping idea that you really need to take action on now. Wait a minute, slow down. Maybe just wait till the next business meeting next month. Don't go barge into the boss's office. Or if you're the boss, don't go barging into the employee's office and ream them out. Just hold on. Okay. You'll deal with it next month in the meeting.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are weird, different challenges.
They are.
From an abandonment perspective.
Yeah.
Good conversation. Let's wind it up. Get out of here. What do you like with the summary?
Well, I kind of covered most of the summary in the beginning, but just to go back over a little bit of that, if you're still with us, check out the new website. I'd like to hear what you think about the website. If you want to shoot us a note or an email or a comment, it'd be cool to hear about what you guys think it looks like. On the website, you'll find links to our social media, our Facebook and Instagram, and love for you to follow us there. And yeah, sign up for the email list. We're going to have some good stuff happening. And that's the most solid way for us to reach out and communicate with our tribe. So, and you got a cool giveaway, the life balance questionnaire. Get your mind thinking on some areas in your life that may need improvements, or let you know where you're doing well. So, check out those resources on throughatherapistdies.com. And again, don't forget about our book giveaway, and our email list will definitely play a part in that giveaway. And just so you know how that thing works, is when you enter your name and email address into the form and click submit, you're going to get a return email that's going to ask you to confirm that you really want to sign up. And sometimes that email could get stuck in the junk folder, the spam folder. So if you don't get a response from us right away, then make sure you check out there or check out that spam folder and make sure that you didn't get that we didn't get directed there for whatever reason, so you can get signed up for the list.
So we nailing that down. 5 of those first from today on. 5. The first 5 new email subscribers are getting
not the first 5. We're going to take 5 at random from the list of the total amount of subscribers.
Oh, gotcha. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I see.
And
so
then maybe we'll
get yourself in the hat.
Maybe we'll do 5 from social media, or 5 from the. We'll do a video or something announcing the show.
So get yourself in the hopper.
Is going. So got it. Yeah. So the book's great. Stephanie Fast was an amazing story. If you hadn't heard that podcast, go listen to it. And I'm sure the read is a lot better than our podcast, right? It's always like to read the book instead of see the movie.
To hear her speak is amazing, though.
Yeah, but to hear Stephanie speak too, I'm not discounting the podcast. I'm just saying you're going to hear a lot more details about her story.
Yes.
In her book.
Yes.
So check that out.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, bro.
So next week we are hitting engulfment. Same concept, deeper on the engulfment insecurity fear. Have a great week.